episode of Free to Think. I'm Cody.
I'm Jacob.
This is Free to Think. And I had my computer screen up there displayed for all the world to see for a second. But that's okay, because we're still learning. We were supposed to start at 7 o'clock this morning at 7:42 because we had technical difficulties. But
You're learning. I just sat here.
yeah, I'm learning a lot. And I don't really like learning all that much, but I like it when I've learned. I'm a learned individual on a certain topic, but I don't necessarily like learning.
Oh, really?
It's hard, right? I mean, that's biblical, right? What is it? Hebrews 12:11 talks about in the moment, discipline is painful and unenjoyable, but in the long run, it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness.
Yeah. I think you're just projecting. I love learning, and I love being learned.
Okay, let me try to parse what I'm trying to say. I love learning as well. I love reading. I love bringing in new knowledge, something like that. But when you're learning a new skill and you are troubleshooting and you're getting frustrated and you're not getting where you want to
You're confronted by how little you know.
Correct. I think that's probably better.
That's not fun.
So
Yeah.
that's
Troubleshooting is often very frustrating.
It is.
But sometimes what you need is you just need a hug.
As I told you earlier, people who give me hugs when I'm frustrated are lucky to be conscious afterwards.
It would be worth it.
It would be worth it to be unconscious.
Sure. As long as I get a hug out of it.
Okay, let's try it.
Maybe next time.
Sounds good. Well, have you been watching the World Cup at all? Probably not.
All I know is that it is Argentina and Spain.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
Because France got defeated.
France got beat by Spain. Spain's good. Spain looks really good. And then Argentina has been like limping through the tournament, but they still keep beating amazing teams. And they were
really? How coincidentally?
Right.
Isn't that the Messi? He's on Argentina?
Yeah, Lionel Messi. He's on Argentina. And there's some conspiracies around it. Like there was a goal scored in the previous game that got taken away. I think it was the Egypt game. It got taken away because there was a foul down the field like a minute beforehand. And they went all the way back and found that foul and said, so therefore the line of events that happened afterwards are null and void, no goal. And so the conspiracies start to twirl that FIFA really wants Lionel Messi in the finals. So they'll do whatever they have to, which, I mean, conspiracies are going to swirl. But there really was a foul before that. And they really do have review on all these things because they want to make sure it's a legitimate goal. They don't want to say he got fouled, which led to the goal. But
Gotcha.
So, yeah, he's in the finals. But they were down 1-0 right at the end of the game, last 6 minutes, I believe. They scored 2 goals, extra time, 6 minutes plus extra time.
All right. So what's your prediction?
I'm going to go with Spain.
And what's the score?
It's going to be Spain, and it's probably going to be 2-1.
Oh, I was going to say 3-2.
I like it.
And that's
Spain has only been scored
no
on
idea.
once the entire tournament.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they're good. They're hard to score on. But Argentina, they're masters. They're artists of getting that ball in the goal.
So what city is it going to be played in?
It's Newark.
So, like, isn't it
Newark. I
the
can't
East
remember.
River? That
Newark, New York. I can't remember.
Newark? But Newark is in New Jersey. Unless I am not familiar with the area, which I'm not.
Well, let's just look it up. The World Cup final is in MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It's in New Jersey. It's in Jersey.
Did you just offend all of our Jersey listeners?
No, I complimented. I love accents. I wish I had an accent. I don't have an accent.
Sure you do. You have a Colorado accent.
No, that's not an accent. That's like the base level.
It's not.
It's
like
not.
vanilla.
Like if I go to New York, they're not gonna be like, "You from Colorado?" That's more like an Australian accent, but they're gonna be like, "You from Colorado?" They would never say that. They would have no idea where I'm from.
Yeah.
Because like I'm milk toast. Like if you mix all the accents together, you get what I've got. And
Sure.
It's just like base level.
I agree, though. I love doing accents, but how do you communicate with people that are not trying to make fun of you? It's that I'm enamored by your accent, right? It's like I want to talk Irish because I love your Irish accent.
I have the problem of when I'm talking to a Spanish speaker, and you can tell that English is their second language, and they've got this Spanish, thick Spanish accent in English. I tend to start slurring my words like they do, subconsciously.
Oh, it's so hard not to.
And like I start having a Spanish accent all of a sudden, and my wife is like looking at me. What are you doing? Are you
okay?
Are you trying to offend them? And I'm like, and it just comes. It's natural, and I'm like, whatever. Maybe it's my internal desire to be like somebody else, or to maybe like erase the differences between the two of us, or something like that, right? Like to relate to somebody. I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
I notice it, and I'm like, why did I do that?
But you're not trying to be mean. You're trying to be nice. Trying to make friends.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
That's good.
So, so no, you gonna watch the World Cup this weekend or no? Probably not.
I'll catch it on the back end.
Yeah.
The commentary amongst the office mates, except they're all going to be in Wisconsin for the Oshkosh Air Show.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Are they flying some planes up there again?
Yeah, I think took 4 planes.
Sweet.
Yeah, 4 planes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they left Thursday morning, 5 a.m.
Cool.
I don't know where they are now, but I assume 2-day trip.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an open cockpit,
And
they're gonna fly all the way up to Oshkosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's not even the longest trip that these planes have taken.
that's
I mean,
wild.
They've been all the way from Florida up to Washington.
I mean, they probably got to stop 5 or 6 times, right?
Not as much as you would think. You get pretty good range if you get a good tailwind.
Yeah.
So, cross-country trip. I mean, if you're going across the entire country, maybe 5 or 6 stops, but
Yeah.
you can still do it in that
What's the range on that little
10 hours.
plane?
It's 300 miles or something like
That's
that.
not bad.
Tailwind, 400 miles.
Yeah.
I'd have to get the exact.
What's the name of the
Numbers.
plane again?
The SE-1.
SE-1.
Yeah.
You didn't take my suggestion of the broomstick
Yeah.
single
Oh,
occupant
sorry.
plane.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
Well, we did a crowdsourcing sort of effort,
Yeah.
and there was just not any of the names that
Stuck.
stuck. So we went with it's kind of the same with the name of the podcast, right? You got to check the same boxes.
Yeah.
It has to be like doesn't have any bad connotations,
Correct.
and it's still memorable but inoffensive and all this stuff. So
What's wrong with broomstick?
there's a connotation with witchcraft. The only people that ride around on broomsticks
Isn't there
are Harry Potter.
exactly?
He's got the Nimbus 3000 or whatever it
But
is.
isn't flying somewhat magical? Mystic still?
Sure. Just not the name.
Do you think you'd actually get less sales if it was named the broomstick?
I don't know. I'm thinking, yeah, probably.
Probably.
I think we would get a lot more derision on
Yeah.
the social media.
It would distract from the purpose of your mission, probably,
yeah.
to put out an affordable single occupant fun plane.
Yeah. Because, yeah, it can't be distracting.
It can't be distracting. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the name.
I thought of the Volare because I think that's Italian for like wind or something.
Volare,
The
yeah.
Spirit Volare. But that one didn't get a lot of traction.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. It was like a name that you thought was really good, and then you would like cautiously mention it to people, and they'd be
Yeah.
like, "That's stupid."
Well, that's what I did
"Oh,
with
okay."
this podcast.
Exactly.
It's like I give it to people
when you're
like,
naming anything, it's
like
always that.
stupid. So you said SE1?
As in Spirit Engineering
Engineering.
-1.
SE1.
Yep.
So will the next one be SE2? Keep it
I don't
simple.
know. Maybe we'll see. We could like do the Xbox approach and just name it just random stuff, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they had the
like
Xbox 360, Xbox One,
That's true.
Series X.
Yeah.
That's what we'll do. The Spirit Series X.
There you go. Take after Elon Musk,
There you go.
who puts an X on everything.
Yeah.
Why does he put an X on everything?
I don't know.
I'll have to look into that.
There's got to be a reason.
He just likes the letter X.
Yeah. Well, it's a cool letter.
It
Yeah.
is. Simple.
Yeah.
2 intersecting lines.
Yeah. But so is the T.
So is the T.
Oh,
Are you thinking of
profound.
other letters that... I can't think of other letters with just 2 simple intersections. Anyways. Well, good. Well, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about a weight loss plan.
Socialism?
Yes. It's a very good weight loss plan.
It's a great...
because as you wait in the bread lines, you burn calories while you're waiting there for your little bit of meager sustenance, and you'll lose weight.
Yeah.
They called it the Maduro diet.
But you can't just go halfway. It's not a halfway diet. You've got to commit completely. Like, your country has to go all in socialism, completely get rid of capitalism, completely... The government has to take over all means of production, and then you have to wait a little bit for socialism to really set in, and then that's when the weight loss program really sets in, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's some preliminary steps.
Yeah.
You got to prime the pump a little bit.
You do. Nothing comes easy.
Yeah.
This world.
So for our listening audience, what is socialism?
So I'll take a crack at it, and you tell me where I'm wrong. But essentially, it started out as... Well, and it's had its like permutations throughout the ages, and it's changed, and the culprit has kind of changed and morphed in different stuff. But I think it started out, and again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? Like,
that's a good phrase.
Yeah, it's like people start out with good intentions. Ooh, we have a problem. People are poor, therefore we need to pool our resources. We need capitalism is the engine. It's not really like a creation. Capitalism isn't a creation. It's always been there. It's just it's just the procedure by how the economy runs. But socialism is this idea that, hey, let's pool our resources rather than letting evil money grubbing profiteers run it. The government needs to run it. They need to seize the means of production, so it's not profit based. It's good intention based. It's government based. It's to each according to his need type stuff. And then it's morphed. I mean, back in the day, I think early socialists, the bad guy was people who are poor, people who can't eat. That idea was the bad guy. Whereas Karl Marx comes on the scene, and all of a sudden, capitalism is the big bad wolf. And you have to have a bad guy, and you have to have a good guy. And anybody who's in power, that structure that created that power, that is the bad guy, rather than just trying to solve a problem. So yeah, it's the securing the means of production away from the private industry and pooling resources, and not necessarily pooling resources, but public resources, and taking away from the private market, and central planning. I mean, it's all those ideas kind of put in a stew and mixed up. And there's different flavors of socialism, different degrees, gradations.
Yeah, like sour, bitter. Those are both flavors of socialism. Sorry,
go for it. Like, where did I get it wrong? Where did I get it right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think there's one of the distinctions that kind of can be made is communism is more socialism where there's no private ownership, whereas it seems like democratic socialism is still private ownership, but you're kind of taxed to death, and then all your then there's the pooling and redistribution of everything with the intent, or you could go back to the Mott and Bailey argument where the Bailey is, well, there's poor people out there, and everybody, I mean, you'll hear socialists unabashedly say that everybody has a right to a home, everybody has a right to free health care, everybody has a right to as much food as they can eat, as many Doritos as they can eat, and all this stuff. And, it's like, okay, sure, there's poor people, and poor people tend to starve, and homeless people tend to freeze, and, and children, they can't really fend for themselves. So that's the Bailey of the Mott and Bailey argument. But I think the Mott goes into, no, the government is free to exercise as much control as is needed to accomplish the goal, so.
Describe what Mott and Bailey is again.
Oh, that's where you have a broader argument that's not as well defendable. And then when somebody criticizes that, you retreat to the more defensible.
Yeah, okay.
I guess defendable. The Mott has the wooden fence, which is sort of less defensible, and then the Bailey is like the castle with the stone and the iron, the portcullis and all that.
So you keep it as broad as you possibly can until someone breaks the fence, attacks it, comes through.
And then you retreat to your Bailey, which is like,
okay.
So somebody says, no, I don't want the government running everything, right? I don't want the government running private industry. They say, why do you hate poor people?
Yeah, that's
Why do you want children to starve?
Yeah.
It's like, that's not what I said. But so that's the Mott and Bailey approach of, doing dialogue. So
it seems like regardless of which flavor of socialism you pick, it's very idealistic. It's very like, here's our ideal. Here's where we want to be. Utopian, if you will. Here's where I think we're all utopian at some level. Like, I think even in a capitalistic system, we say, here's our utopia, right? And of course, there's always real life, reality, and things like that. But it seems like socialism, the goods in socialism only exist in kind of a utopian, idealistic sense. Like, if you read Marx's manifesto, he portrays it as like scientific. Like, if you do this, this will result. And it's very idealistic, because you've never seen a pure socialistic system ever result in what Marx thought it would bring.
Well, so maybe we could talk about that ideal utopia. So, you have a society of people that have varying levels of resources, and some people don't have resources, right? So they're, that's the homeless, that's the people that are starving and stuff like that. So there's holes in society where people don't have resources. So ideally, again, the government, being its, the supreme benefactor over society, comes in and says to people that have many resources, we're gonna take some of your resources and we're gonna give to people that don't have resources. And then so the government acts as kind of an intermediary to just redistribute, and fill in the gaps, right? It's like, you can still keep your business. We're just gonna take a little bit off the top and you'll be fine. And then we're gonna fill it in where it's needed, right? Does that sound like the ideal socialist?
Sure. So
thing?
If you define it like that, then ideally it only works if you've got solid production. Take the cream off the top from the cow's milk. Like, the only way you can slice the cream off the top is if you have a healthy, productive cow who is producing milk. And that milk can turn over and turn over and turn over, but the only way that it works is with a healthy, productive economy.
Yeah.
So yeah, ideally it works if it's just kind of layered on top of capitalism.
Yeah. And I think it's rooted also in this sort of modernist approach to things that says we can take humanity as a whole, as it is, and we can engineer and morph it into this perfect utopia. It's very modernist in that regard. But I think what it ignores is human nature, like innate human nature, that you and I would say, no, this is human nature that's so baked into the cake that it's impossible to do away with. And that being, just like you said, if I produce something that I'm going to sell for a profit, but then I have this other party that comes in and just takes, no matter what I produce, they come in and take a huge chunk of it and really sort of nullify my ability to make a profit, then what is my incentive to produce? Well, it's just enough not to starve, right? So if I'm a farmer, instead of running 10,000 acres of wheat, and the government comes in and takes 99% of it because they're going to redistribute to other people, then my incentive to make that much wheat is reduced by 99.9%, right?
Correct.
And I'm just going to start making enough so that my family can get by. And so suddenly I'm not a contributor to the system. I'm a net negative on the system, because I'm just making enough for my family to eat, but also I consume other resources.
We'll take it back to that cream off the top. Like, at some point, socialism starts taking too much. The cream is no longer there.
Yeah.
So then they start taking from the milk. And when you start taking from the core of the economy and you start taking away, eventually you're not going to have anything left.
Yeah.
Eventually, there's going to be no cream on the top. Eventually, people are going to stop producing. The cow's going to stop producing.
Yeah.
If you continue to take away from it.
And then if you go to the farmer and say you will be coerced into producing that much, then you have to use the threat of force to do anything. And that's ultimately, proponents of socialism will say that true socialism has been tried, or has not been tried anywhere. Like, if we got it right, it would work. And I say, no, socialism works as it's designed, and it always devolves into autocracy.
Yeah.
Right? There's a ruling class that will, by force, make you do what they want because that's the only way that they can actually exercise control is to like fully exercise control. And that's why this democratic socialists, it boggles my mind. And I think either one of two things. Either they're so ignorant of the natural process of how socialism devolves into autocracy, or they're just being flat out deceptive in saying that I'm a democratic socialist. Like, there's no way that if a huge group of democratic socialists get elected, that they're not just going to devolve into autocracy.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If you have a cabal of democratic socialists and suddenly they get voted out and new people come in that don't want socialism and they're going to revert the social order back to capitalism, you think in a million years they're going to allow that to happen?
Yeah.
It's like, no way. And that's another thing, is it ignores human nature of just the hunger for power, right? So it ignores human nature in that people will kind of devolve to the laziness that's expected of them. And it also ignores the human nature of people that are still going to clamor for power. Like, no matter what society you live in, the thirst for power is still there in a lot of humans. And there's still, I mean, yeah, sure, Marx was right. It's always a power struggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just these democratic socialists say on the surface, we only want the power to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's always, no, we want and we need the power to control everything in society. So you elect too many democratic socialists, suddenly the democratic part of it just kind of gets erased.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think you're going to get a bunch of democratic socialists who have this idea, who are somewhat milquetoast socialists, you think you're going to get them together, they're going to collate power and get less milquetoast? They're going to lean more towards capital? They're not. Whenever you get extreme parties together and they're in a silo, they only, and this is a scientific principle, they only get more extreme.
Yeah.
And so if they coalesce power as democratic socialists, yeah, you're right. Slowly the democratic lowercase d is going to slowly get erased.
Because the other alternative is that you have to get, I mean, in the United States, you would have to get 350 million people to agree on everything, right? It's like, that's why pure democracy doesn't even work. But if you're talking about trying to use a central distributive body, central governing body, to collect and then redistribute everything, it's like there is no way that you can do that and have the control distributed over the entire population.
Well, and it's interesting because democratic socialists, as in their name, believe in democracy, right?
On the surface.
On the surface, they say they believe in free elections. They believe in freedom of speech, independent courts, civil liberties, all these things that sound really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think for a second, if they get in power, they're going to allow the capitalists that same freedom, really, to elect their own people, to civil liberties, freedom of speech. It's like that works against what they're trying to accomplish directly.
Yeah, because it's almost a contradiction in terms in that you have the democratic part, which seems so fraught with freedom and liberty and justice and equality for all, except the economy.
Yeah,
except this one area, we need absolute control. It's like, it doesn't stand on its own because it's fighting against itself. Because here you say, in these regions, everybody needs to have as much license to do whatever they want. And then in this region, no, you cannot have any license to do anything.
Yep.
And so it's either just a mismatch of understanding or it's just outright deception. And in my cynical brain, I think it's just deception. These people claim to be democratic socialists, but then when they get elected, they're going to erase the democratic part.
It's the only way they can get in power.
Yeah.
It's democracy until we're in power. Yeah. And then, get rid of that part.
And that's what happened with Maduro, right? Venezuela.
Yeah.
Like, here we have this booming economy, so rich in oil. Suddenly he's elected and then collectivizes everything.
Yeah, I need more power.
And it's like, well, that wasn't true socialism. It's like, that was exactly true socialism. He nationalized all these industries.
Yeah.
And then, of course, then it's like bread lines. So the other thing that socialism does, which isn't necessarily just, it's one of those things where it strips away the niceties of just, because I walk down the street, how many restaurants do you see, right? You walk down Main Street,
Oh yeah.
there's 24 individual, unique restaurants, right?
Beautiful.
But under socialism, it's just here is your bread store, which sells plain white bread. Here's your food store or your butcher, which is just there's no choice cuts or anything. It's just all this like flat, bland. I mean, even look at the architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Soviet brutalist architecture is some of the most unappealing. And even look at the cars, right? I mean, in Western Germany, what do you get? You get Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen.
Yeah.
And then in Eastern Germany, what do you get? The Yugo or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like there's all these like Soviet cars. They're just absolutely terrible.
To go with me on this, it's almost like there's no beauty in art in socialism, right?
Yeah, because things that are exceptional cannot be celebrated and cannot even be tolerated.
Would you say there's a link between that and it being godless? Because God is the purveyor of all things beautiful and artistic. I mean, he is the creator of all things, and color is beautiful.
I mean, if you look at it kind of like a pie chart, right? Here's the godly stuff here in the middle, right?
Sure.
It's not like the antithesis, because we see like there's certainly godless stuff that is just sacrilege and blasphemy and stuff like that. It's almost like perpendicular, right?
Sure.
It's like the stripping away of anything beautiful. I mean, it's not outright offensive and it's not outright blasphemous, but it's like the blandest state of humanity that you can imagine.
Yeah.
Just like square, rectangular, gray, concrete buildings.
Yep.
And square, rectangular, olive drab cars.
Well, it happened in the U.S. in the 60s and 70s when they were trying to figure out the homeless problem or the blight problem. These central planners came in and said, we need to build these beautiful buildings. We're going to go scrub the ugly, and then we're going to build these beautiful buildings. But what they actually scrubbed beautiful cultural center points. They scrubbed corner markets. They scrubbed where people used to meet to worship or to play. And they put these big, massive monoliths in place. And some of those got torn down within decades because there was no ownership. Mm-hmm. It was purely government run. Yeah. It was purely government funded. And basically, people felt like they were being put in an institution with these drab, colorless, square buildings. Yeah. And it just stripped the absolute humanity out of it. But people were housed.
Yeah. And think of this, too. It's just, if you go to the bank, they got the pile of, like, free stuff for the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that stuff that you cherish for generations? No, it's cheap plastic that goes in the garbage 5 seconds after you get home because you're like, what is this sitting out on the counter? What is this? And you throw it away,
You
right?
do, yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff you get under socialism because everything is free. Everything is just garbage, right?
Yep.
So if you talk about housing or free buses, right, because that's like the big thing in New York, the free buses. It's like, yeah, the buses are free. Great. So the homeless people can just get on the bus and live there and defecate there. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, so who wants to take ownership and actually like clean the bus?
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't own it. I own 1/1,000,000th of it. So, it's somebody else's job to actually maintain this. Yeah. So if you have collective ownership, the maintenance, it's like, boop, goes away. There's no maintenance because nobody has an incentive. Again, human nature. If people are expected to just not take care of stuff because it has no value, then they're not going to.
Tragedy of the commons.
And isn't that a lot of what happened in these big flats and developments of just like the rampant graffiti?
Yep.
So
breaking windows.
Like breaking windows, rampant graffiti, all this stuff that you would assume was urban decay. And then they went in again and tried to clean everything up. And then months later, exact same thing.
Because there's zero ownership.
Yeah, there's zero ownership. There's zero reason for people to take care of it on one end and protect it on the other end. Because if I live in a place that just I don't even own, it's like, except for my life and my little bit of property, which is very minimal.
Yeah.
What incentive do I have to protect what's mine?
It's the broken window theory on steroids.
Yeah.
Condensed.
Yeah.
And you see it play out.
Oh, sure.
Well, and plus the lack of ownership. Like most people who have ownership in something are going to take care of it. Now, yes, you get private ownership that just doesn't care and just kind of destroys what they have. Yeah. To the detriment of themselves. I mean, now if they're leaking toxic chemicals into the soils, into our ground. That's a different story. We're going to regulate that stuff.
Maybe.
Well, if it's contaminating groundwater, yeah, you're going to.
Well, if there's one thing that socialist and communist regimes are famous for, it's protecting every citizen, not letting millions and millions and millions of people die.
Well, there's also
Sorry,
private
that's
action.
the cynic in me coming in.
It is. And there's also, to further that argument, there's private action. Like if you are dripping oil or some toxic sludge onto my property, I'm going to sue you.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's sometimes the unseen, but at the same time, I think what I'm saying is there's reasonable regulation, and that regulation is meant to protect people and their rights. And again, we have to define what a right is, because a bag of Doritos is not a right, as you said earlier. The right to a brand new home, the right to a brand new space, is not a right. A right to a vehicle or a cell phone are not rights. They're opportunities, privileges, something we don't take lightly, but honestly, that was given to us by, I know people aren't going to like to hear this, but given to us by billionaires. You know, they're billionaires because they took this technology that cost them billions in research and put it into a little box. And gave it to us for less than $1,000. So the biggest investment we have is $1,000 into this thing. They have billions and billions of invested into it. Don't they have the right to be a billionaire? I mean, they took a technology that in the 70s and 80s didn't even exist. You know, and put it at our tips of our fingers. We ourselves would have to have invested over billions of dollars to put this in our hands. But we didn't have to.
I think, in telecommunications, this is just my opinion, if the government was responsible for the telecommunications industry, we would still be using just, handsets and dial-up phones. And that sort of innovation, it comes straight out of capitalism.
It does.
But then you get the people that say, well, what about Sweden and Norway? They're socialist. And I listened to a little bit of commentary from a woman that's from Norway. She is Scandinavian. She says it is not anything like they describe. It is like, in fact, you talk about healthcare specifically. She said the public is on public healthcare, but anybody that's kind of in the upper class, they have private healthcare.
Correct.
And they use private healthcare to take care of their needs. Meanwhile, they're not in bread lines, but they're in vaccine lines, or they're in general practitioner lines, right? You have to wait in the queue, as the British say, to get to see a general practitioner, and then lo and behold, they have to pay anyways. So there's still a copay. You still have to wait in huge lines, and then the elites of society have private insurance, so they're doing just fine. And on top of that, they have enough money that they can just come to the U.S. and pay and get better health care, and they're fine. Or they can go to Turkey and get their hair plugs put in or whatever. So the socialist utopia that's always described as Sweden is a straw man. If you actually look at the Swedish economy, I hear that in the 70s they tried to go like full socialist and it didn't work, so they've actually had to pull that back, and people are still taxed like to death. And the socialist system that they have in place works okay, but it's still driven by a capitalist underpinning. They still have Volvo and they still have Saab and things like that. So there's still this socialist utopia is always built on the back of a successful capitalist enterprise at the beginning, right? In Venezuela, it was the oil economy. And then they came in with socialism and it ruined everything, right? So you can't get away from the fact that you have capitalism grows a bunch of wealth, and then the socialists start salivating, and then they say, oh, there's poor people. We need to redistribute all that wealth.
Not necessarily poor people, disparity. Because the poorest person today
that's true.
is by far one of the most wealthy person on the face of the planet.
Well, in the U.S., it's like, 99% of people have cell phones. It's like, that wasn't even afforded to the princes and the kings 100 years ago.
Have cell phones?
Of course, because they didn't have cell phones, but the same sort of luxuries.
Yeah.
We have literal, like, king-like luxuries in the hands of the poorest people today.
Yeah.
And you never hear the socialists talk about, well, it's, well, first of all, they never go to where there's poor people and actually try to help poor people. It's always, I'm going to petition the government to send your money to the poor people. Yeah. But also, it's like, what about Africa? You have children living on the trash heaps in Africa. It's like, We could do something and help them. And another point, I mean, we can just go on all day. But it not only does it steal the beauty out of society and culture, but it steals the generosity of people that just want to
100%.
help other people.
Mhm.
It's like, again, human nature. What incentive do I have to go volunteer or to give my money to, or food or whatever to somebody who actually needs it if I know the government is just going to come in and take it?
Mhm.
Then if I see somebody who is truly disadvantaged, then I'm like, go stand in the bread line, you know? Go to the government. They have all the money. I
Yeah.
don't have any.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So it literally steals the ability of people to just be generous.
It stifles not only creativity, it stifles generosity.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And that is like truly a good thing
Mhm.
on both ends because, you know, the old adage, it's better to give than to receive. It is truly good for you as a human being to give something to
That's right.
somebody that needs it, right? That's mercy. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. And if you stifle people's ability to do that, then suddenly, I mean, look at the society that's produced. It's a low trust, high control. I don't know. It's just, it devolves into the worst society on earth. And it devolves into that because, like, greedy people who are kind of in the mid-tier, they have enough power but not enough resources. They're just greedy. They look at the people above them in the echelons of society and say, they have more than me and they have no right, and I need to make sure that they get knocked down a peg so that I can get, you know, moved up a peg.
Yeah.
And it's based on greed, and it turns society into just a terrible, terrible place to live.
The only way it operates is by picking out disparities, and which assumes that disparities are inherently bad or evil.
Mm-hmm.
And so unless everybody is on the same playing field, and I think socialists say, here's what we want to do is level everybody out. But what it does is it brings everybody down to the lowest common denominator, and probably even worse,
Except for that tiny little group in the middle.
who are running the place.
That's the autocracy.
And they have
Yeah.
private health care, everything.
Yeah, the rules, the socialist rules do not apply to those people.
Correct.
And I think that's what these democratic socialists, Zoran Mondami or this Melat Kiros or whatever her name is, they want to get in on the first wave of the socialist revolution so that they are in the autocracy.
Sure.
You know, that's their goal. I'm sure of it. Because, you know, that lust for power does not just disappear. It's like, oh man, I have so much power. Ooh, I don't like power. I'm going to get out of this.
Do you
Like,
think
that
there's
never happens?
Do you think there's any true, genuine desire to see society get better from these people? Or do you think it's just a pure grab for power? Because I know, like, people on the other side, I'm an elected official, and people have claimed that I'm just in it for power and money.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to assume, I mean, do we assume good intentions?
I wouldn't. I'm sorry. I'm too cynical.
Mhm.
If somebody is so prominent and they have such a loud soapbox, because all the true people are like the ones that are out there every day helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the true heroes are out there helping other people. They don't get 1 second of airtime, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
It's like if you spend all your time just trying to feed the homeless, clothe them,
Mhm.
give them, you know, try to migrate them into a better station in life, you don't have time just to run a political campaign.
Sure.
And that probably applies to both sides. But I would say, okay, well, let's just say, give them the benefit of the doubt. If you put odds to it, I would say it's 1% they're doing it for altruistic means, and 99% chance that they're doing it to revolutionize a culture that they hate
Mm-hmm.
and gain power.
So I would say that's true probably about the upper echelons of democratic socialists, and the most extreme of those factions. Yes, they want to see capitalism crumble.
Mm-hmm.
They want to kind of assume power for themselves and be in those upper echelons. And that is absolutely true for the extremes. And I don't think that's a cynical view by any means. But there's also kind of a large section of society that wants something different. And then they glom onto something.
Mm-hmm.
They glom onto the populist movement of the day, whether that's MAGA or whether that's the democratic socialists of America, right?
So you're thinking that's just the sheep following the
Well, yeah, that's the sheep
leaders?
following. I think the sheep are well-intentioned people who want to see society improve. They don't like to see blight and homelessness. When they drive downtown and see homeless people sleeping in the parks during the day, it pains their heart, you know? And so they see the Zoran Mandamis of the world, who is clearly in the upper echelon, who's very, very wealthy, who's not going to get rid of his own means of production, his own wealth.
His own
means.
levers.
He's not going to get rid of them, but he's going to try to get rid of them for everybody else.
Yeah.
And he's going to talk about how we need to tax the rich more and more and more. And that sounds good to them. That sounds like a viable solution. Now, he's talking about a unicorn. You know, he's saying we've never truly tried socialism before, which is basically saying I've never ridden a unicorn before. Well, you're never going to ride a unicorn. You're never going to truly try the idealistic, utopian, socialistic worldview that you have. Because what you're really going to try is the reality of socialism.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think, I talk to people every day who disagree with me, but like at the end of the day, I hear their heart. And I think the masses of people, the majority of people want to see something good happen in our community. But you're right. As soon as you kind of exit that middle, exit the mass, and get in those outer echelons or get too extreme or something like that, then I think, yeah, your intentions probably start to change. It's not very often you find someone who kind of rises to that level who is pure and genuine, right?
Yeah.
Like that's hard to find.
And if we're being honest, I mean, you don't find pure and genuine people in capitalism.
Sure.
I mean, you see all sorts of people. I mean, greed knows no station in life. You can have pride and greed are throughout all the levels of society. And so if you have capitalism, the reason that I would choose one over the other is that socialism ignores human nature in order to flatten everything out and strip away the truth, beauty, and goodness of everything. Capitalism, I mean, for better or for worse, it kind of embraces human nature to say that if you have somebody that is, a cunning businessman and they can make a huge organization, that they, by necessity, have to benefit everybody in their organization at least a little bit in order to pull the whole organization 100%. So that they can feed their own ego and they can feed their own greed, right? But tangentially, everybody else still benefits,
100%.
Because if you have because does Elon Musk do everything for Tesla and SpaceX? No, they're enormous organizations, right? And not only that, they're benefiting the people in the organization. There was that one guy that was like, he had been paid in stock, and when there was the IPO, he became a millionaire, and he was a janitor, maintenance guy. It's like, so when you say that, there's also a problem of sort of relative versus absolute perspective, and you talked about this a little bit. If I'm somebody who just sits in my Denver apartment all day, I still have access to Amazon, streaming services, my phone. I have all these things that are they're good, they're nice, they're comforts, right? But if I'm so used to those and that becomes my baseline, then if I see somebody who has a little bit more, that difference becomes so stark that that's all I focus on, right?
Sure.
I don't see that I have a nice, cushy baseline to operate on. All I see is the lack, right?
Because we're focused outward. We're always focused on somebody else.
And that's another thing. It just, talking about this trip to Las Vegas a few years back, it was jarring to see that here we have these huge billion-dollar resorts that are just skyscrapers, and then 2 blocks away, a huge collection of, I assume, homeless people, looking for a handout. And that contrast is so jarring,
stark,
that has to be where they're starting from.
Yeah.
But if I was driving through Vegas and I saw all the sort of poor people standing in a bread line, and then a couple blocks down, I see this huge skyscraper and all the windows are broken out and it just looks more consistent, then at least that's not so jarring.
Sure.
So you're saying socialism kind of takes it from this and kind of squishes everything down. And I think, because in capitalism, there's such a contrast. It seems like something's wrong when, in fact, those homeless people are probably better off than 90% of the homeless people on Earth.
Yeah, it hits our feelers wrong when there's disparity, and
feelers.
I think that's natural. When we're kids and your sibling has something and you don't, that disparity hurts a little bit.
Yeah,
because we're selfish, self-absorbed, sinful beings. So, kind of wrapping up. If I were to define socialism versus not, or socialism versus capitalism, and I think you kind of touched on it, say socialism takes the energy in life and tries to suppress it. Like, I don't think greed and avarice are good things. I think they're bad, and I think we need to regulate it. But there's this ambition within every human being to produce, to thrive, and what socialism does is it tries to beat it down. Because there's good and bad that comes from that ambition, but they try to suppress all of it. And that's like trying to play whack-a-mole at some level, and that's why there's it doesn't last the experiment doesn't last very long, because people will not put up with bread lines for very long. Whereas capitalism says, here's this engine, here's this energy, and rather than trying to suppress it, I'm gonna put a saddle and a halter on it, and we're gonna ride this thing. Are we gonna create problems? We're gonna create problems. But guess what? We're gonna be going 99 miles an hour into the future, and we're gonna create, we're gonna produce, and everybody's gonna benefit, even the poorest among us. That's why the homeless have iPhones. They have iPhones. They have access to basic medical, food services. I mean, you name it, they've got everything. And that's because we've bridled this thing and saddled it, and we're riding it.
I think it was Winston Churchill that said a lot of people see capitalism as a tiger that needs to be caged or a cow that needs to be milked. But what true capitalism is a strong horse pulling a steady cart. Or sturdy cart. Right. And that's just it. Look, your analogy of an engine, right? An engine is a bunch of tiny explosions happening, just wild, uncontrolled explosions, but they have been controlled, and they've been put into a system to where if you harness all these little explosions, all these bursts of energy and power, then you can do something useful, right? So, that same thing, that fire outside the engine is totally useless, but controlled in the system, it's very useful, and then socialism just takes all the spark out. So
they're trying to wet it down.
So none of those cylinders want to actually function. They all just want to move, but they don't want the fire of industry and stuff. So it's very stifling.
They're putting water in the fuel tank, because they don't like fire. They're trying to suppress it, yet they want the engine to turn over.
Because they still want to do useful things, but they don't have the engine of society to do it.
But by golly, they're going to force that engine to turn over.
Oh yeah. By force. And it always devolves into by force. I mean, capitalism is not coerced, because you have just this freedom to say, if I want to buy something, I've done all the work to earn the money, I can buy something. And these days you have access to everything, right? Through Amazon or whatever, And then people have the freedom to produce what the market wants. So it's like, in my view, if we kind of strip away the big, corporatism, which I think is different, and you just say, if I, as a person, can take raw materials and use my time, my energy, my resources, my ingenuity to create something that somebody else wants, and then I can sell it to them and benefit, I mean, that kind of takes advantage of all the good human nature. Of, I want to create something. I want to make something that's long lasting and my customer will be happy about because I'm developing a relationship. It's all good things, right? So when socialists look at capitalism, they look at the corporatism boogeyman, which is a real thing in some way, shape, or form, but they want to solve it. It's almost like here's an analogy, right? You wear glasses. Sometimes the screws fall out, right? What tool do you use to put the screw back in?
A screwdriver.
A tiny little screwdriver. What socialism is we see the screw fell out, and I'm going to use a sledgehammer to get that screw back in.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's unwieldy. It's unnecessary. It's this huge thing that just doesn't need to be
Sure.
the tool that we're grabbing, and that's what they want to grab.
That's good.
And I think that translates also into like the breadlines, because if you have this like socialist central planned economy and then suddenly an earthquake hits, this socialist planned economy is so large and unwieldy that it cannot adapt. And that's why Mao's Great Leap Forward, right?
Yeah.
How many people died? Like 10 million, 20 million people?
Mm-hmm.
It's because the socialist enterprise cannot adapt to, feed local needs that happen very quickly.
Yeah.
It's like a freight train, and suddenly the track diverges and suddenly the train derails. That's socialism.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas capitalism, it's like capitalism mixed with charity. If you have an earthquake or you have a tsunami, you have something that happens, a drought, heaven forbid, right? There's other, capitalism can always kind of fill in the gaps on its own. So,
yeah.
So of the two,
you're a capitalist?
I remain unconvinced that socialism can work.
By virtue of reality.
By virtue of, yes, reality, which we do say that reality does exist.
That's right. Well, I think it's a good place to end. I mean,
all right.
Hopefully we've convinced all the socialists out there who are going to listen to our podcast.
No, they still have the lust for power, so their cognitive dissonance will not be disengaged.
Fair enough. Well,
as we always say.
As we always say.